The Nazis lost the war, but their bankers didn't. What if Europe's power today was built on Nazi money?
In the 19th century, Sweden was rich in ideas, but desperately poor in capital.
For decades, Sweden's financial system was tightly controlled, rigid, and unforgiving. Inventors had ideas, workers had skills, but without access to capital, progress remained frozen in unfinished plans. As Europe industrialized at full speed, Sweden watched from behind, rich in potential but unable to compete. Factories existed, labor was ready, but without capital, Sweden's industrial future slowly drifted away like smoke in cold air. Across the Atlantic, different financial systems were already fueling growth, competition, and innovation. In other countries, private banks competed, capital flowed freely, and economies expanded faster than Sweden ever had. For André Wallenberg, these ideas were not theory. They were solutions to Sweden's deepest economic weakness. When André Wallenberg returned to Stockholm, he carried more than luggage. He carried ideas that would change Sweden forever. Everywhere he looked, André saw talent trapped by a system that refused to fund ambition or reward risk. The solution was radical for its time: a private bank, built to circulate money instead of hoarding it. Power rarely welcomes disruption. Established elites resisted André's ideas, fearing competition more than stagnation. If he failed, André would lose not just money, but reputation, trust, and everything he had built.
Change rarely starts with crowds. It begins with a few people willing to take a risk.
In 1856, André Wallenberg signed the documents that quietly launched Sweden's first private commercial bank.
With its doors open, money finally began to move, unlocking opportunity across Sweden's economy.
For the first time, ordinary citizens could turn small savings into collective economic power. As money moved, factories came alive, production increased, and Sweden's economy began to breathe again.
Railways expanded, trade accelerated, and regions once isolated became part of a growing national economy.
As businesses grew, jobs followed, and prosperity began reaching far beyond banking halls. Within years, Sweden began transforming from a struggling economy into an emerging industrial nation. What began as a bank would become something far greater: the foundation of a dynasty. André believed true power lay not in individuals, but in institutions built to endure beyond one lifetime.
As Sweden modernized, a new Wallenberg prepared to expand the vision beyond borders and generations.
Under Knut, the Wallenbergs pushed beyond Sweden, embedding themselves into Europe's financial bloodstream.
Knut Wallenberg was not just a banker. He was a strategist who understood that power depended on international reach. Finance opened doors to politics, and politics amplified financial power.
In 1914, Knut Wallenberg became Sweden's Minister for Foreign Affairs.
New laws threatened to strip banks of industrial ownership, risking the Wallenbergs' entire structure.
Their answer was Investor AB, a holding company that preserved control while obeying the law.
Childless and focused on permanence, Knut and Alice Wallenberg faced a question few families ever dare to ask.
Their answer was revolutionary: place the fortune inside foundations, protecting it from division, taxation, and time.
The foundations would fund science, medicine, and technology, shaping Sweden's future for generations.
Where most dynasties fragmented, the Wallenbergs built a system designed to survive generations.
While Knut designed the system, Marcus Wallenberg Sr. became the relentless builder of the empire.
Marcus rejected luxury, pouring every available resource back into industry, growth, and long-term strength. Under Marcus, companies grew larger, stronger, and more resilient to economic shocks. After the First World War, Marcus Wallenberg became Europe's trusted negotiator during economic and industrial crises. Marcus believed his years of loyalty and sacrifice would naturally lead to full inheritance of the family empire. Before his death, Knut Wallenberg placed nearly his entire fortune into foundations, bypassing personal inheritance entirely. To Marcus, the decision felt like betrayal, ignoring decades of loyalty and sacrifice.
What felt like betrayal would later prove to be the decision that saved the Wallenberg Empire from collapse. The foundations ensured the fortune could never be divided, sold off, or destroyed by inheritance.
The Wallenbergs became stewards, not owners, tasked with preserving institutions rather than consuming wealth.
As the global economy stabilized, the political world began drifting toward another catastrophic conflict.
A new generation was quietly being prepared, unaware of the storm about to engulf the world.
Sweden would remain neutral on paper, but its industries and banks would soon become indispensable. In 1939, Europe plunged into war. Borders collapsed, alliances hardened.
Sweden declared neutrality, but neutrality in a global war demanded constant negotiation and compromise.
In wartime, industry decides survival. Banks became arteries of war economies, moving resources while attempting to preserve neutrality.
Neutrality meant trading with both sides, blurring the line between survival and complicity.
Behind closed doors, decisions were made that would shape lives, industries, and history itself.
As the war intensified, Nazi Germany became Sweden's most critical trading partner, increasing pressure on neutrality.
Stockholm's Enskilda Bank found itself at the center of wartime finance, where every transaction carried consequences.
Later investigations alleged that neutral banks helped move assets looted from occupied territories, including from Jewish victims.
Neutrality promised survival, but it also demanded moral compromises that would stain reputations for decades. Jacob Wallenberg carried the burden of leadership as war pushed every decision toward irreversible consequences.
Jacob became Sweden's primary economic channel to Nazi Germany, a role filled with danger and moral ambiguity.
Behind official diplomacy, a second role quietly emerged, one far more dangerous than trade.
In 1943, Jacob Wallenberg met members of the German resistance.
Quietly, by early 1944, the German resistance believed only one option remained: remove Hitler and end the war from within. Sweden became a quiet back channel, passing messages between resistance leaders and the Allied powers. Jacob's final trip to Berlin carried enormous risk. Exposure would have meant immediate execution.
The bomb failed. Hitler survived. Within hours,
Hundreds were arrested. Many were tortured, tried, and executed within weeks.
The conspirators paid with their lives, their attempt erased from official history for decades.
He survived, but the cost of survival would haunt him long after the war ended.
While others fought the war with armies and weapons, one man chose to fight it by saving lives.
By 1944, Budapest had become a trap. Its Jewish population stood on the edge of systematic destruction.
Refugees. Using protective passports, thousands were declared under Swedish protection, Exploiting the power of international... At the platforms, deportations were interrupted in plain sight. Prisoners were pulled from trains as guards were confronted, each rescue risking immediate execution. Again and again, deportations were halted mid-march. Paperwork, resolve, and audacity were used. As the war neared its end, Nazi commanders prepared to massacre 70,000 Jews inside the Budapest ghetto.
A warning was delivered. Those who carried out the massacre would be held personally accountable after the war.
Tens of thousands survived because of one man's actions. When the war
As Nazi forces retreated, Soviet troops entered Budapest, bringing liberation and a new form of control.
In January 1945, Raoul Wallenberg was taken into Soviet custody. He was never seen again. The Soviets accused Raoul of espionage, mistaking humanitarian courage for political threat. Months passed. Then, years. Moscow denied knowledge of Raoul's fate. The Wallenberg family waited, writing letters that would never receive replies. Historians still ask whether diplomacy and influence could have saved Raoul Wallenberg. In 1947, the Soviets claimed Raoul died in prison. Proof was never provided. After the war, American investigators began tracing how neutral banks had operated during Nazi rule.
After the war, American investigators began tracing how neutral banks had operated during Nazi rule.
In 1945, the U.S. Treasury blacklisted the Wallenberg brothers as special blocked nationals.
Overnight, doors closed. Credit vanished. Decades of trust evaporated.
In Sweden, public confidence cracked. Questions replaced admiration.
Rather than fight publicly, the Wallenbergs chose silence, retreating from view to preserve what remained.
They focused inward, rebuilding Swedish industry while waiting for global trust to return.
It would take decades, not years, for the Wallenbergs to quietly regain their position.
It would take decades, not years, for the Wallenbergs to quietly regain their position.
As peace returned, the world fractured into two hostile camps, forcing neutral nations to navigate carefully.
Marcus Wallenberg Jr. emerged as the family's central strategist during the Cold War era. Through consolidation and long-term capital discipline, Swedish industry was reshaped into national...
During the Cold War, advanced defense technology became essential, allowing neutral nations to maintain independence through deterrence and self-reliance.
Swedish industry quietly re-entered global markets, rebuilding trust through reliability and quality. Unlike other dynasties, the Wallenbergs avoided fame, believing invisibility protected influence. Foundations and holding companies ensured continuity, shielding control from politics and inheritance. Leadership was passed quietly, with discipline replacing inheritance as the family's guiding principle. Today, Wallenberg-controlled companies touch energy, medicine, defense, and communication across the globe. Most of the fortune is locked inside foundations, beyond personal access, beyond inheritance battles. They control hundreds of billions, yet rarely appear on rich lists, protected by structure, not secrecy.
Their motto says everything. To be, not to seem.
For 6 generations, the Wallenbergs mastered a rare art, shaping the world without ever standing in its spotlight.